What's going on, guys? It's Danny from Slow Restoration, and today we are going to show you how to turn a full wine bottle, into a cut down glass. You can use for multiple different things, but it's kind of cool to cut these in half. My wife's actually making candles out of these, but you can make whatever you want. You could even make a drinking glass if you really wanted to. First step, soak your wine bottles in water with some baking soda. Just let them sit there for a few hours probably, and softens up the label, and then we can get the label off. Makes everything working with the bottle, cutting it easier without a label, and chances are you're going to replace the label anyway. The easiest way I've found after you let your bottle soak for a while in baking soda is to get one of these scrub brushes, sponge. You can wet it, and as you can see, once it's wet, that kind of scrubs right off there. Takes a little bit of working, but once you get it, also cleans the bottle. Once you get the label off, then you can move on to the next step. And obviously after you get the label off and cleaned up, the next step is actually starting the cutting process. So we got this simple cutter off Amazon. It's very simple. It's got a stop on the back side here. You put the bottle up against, of course, rollers, and this is the actual cutting part. It's just a little wheel, and you're just going to score the glass. So you drop that in, put it against the stop, and you're actually going to kind of push down, roll it towards you. You can hear it cutting. You can see the score line coming across. So that's connected. Once you go through, you can actually hear it cutting more. What I like to do is put a heavy score on, so I'll grab it and kind of go back and forth, turn it a little bit further, and then go back and forth, and continue right on around on the bottle. After we have them scored, we have them all scored. All these bottles are slightly different shapes. Some of them taper sooner than the others. This one back here, for instance, is straighter up further, so well beyond our score line. We're going to actually take these O-rings, rubber bands, whatever you want to call them, and slide them down over top about an inch away from your score line on either side. And we have that one set up ready to go, and I do have some cut protection on, the cut resistant gloves. You probably should wear these anytime you're doing any of these steps except for cleaning them, but definitely as you're actually cracking them with the water, you're going to want something just in case they shatter. All right, we have a pot of boiling water, and we're going to turn our cold on and have a nice drizzle. All right, so I'm going to have an assistant here. So what we're going to do is take the pot of boiling water and slowly pour it right on the crack line. We're going to rotate it, trying to keep the water in between the two O-rings. Once we get that water or the bottle nice and hot, okay, we're going to put it under the cold water. Usually doesn't go the first time. Sometimes it does. Pretty much every time it will scare you, no matter how many times you do it. So we'll switch back, oh, right there. So you never really know when it's gonna go, but once it goes, it just pops right apart. That's a pretty good cut. So now we'll just get rid of our O-rings, and we'll set these aside to the side. We do still have to clean up that edge. Now it's very sharp, so we do have to sand it, and there's a sandpaper you use for it. But we have a bunch of these bottles to cut, so we'll show you a couple more. All right, we have another one set up here, and this is one of the ones that's tapered. So the O-ring will probably, as we go, it'll probably start falling off. Let me get the water going here, and we'll get our hot water. A little less hot water. Okay. Yep, there goes our O-ring, that's fine. Hot water again. can usually hear it crackle a little bit. Okay, oh, there it goes. So again, pretty decent cut, or actually not cut, you're actually cracking it. So what you're doing is actually thermal shocking this at the score mark, and it just fractures the glass. So it's not perfect. It will have some highs and lows. If you like that look, that's fine. If not, you can polish that up with some sandpaper. And just because it is neat, we'll show one more. There's the O-ring. I think it's more important to keep the O-ring on the part that you're saving. We're throwing the tops away, so yep. Didn't take very much on that second heating. And again, pretty decent. This one has a little high spot, low spot, but I think we'll be able to save that and clean it up. So there we go. We got 3 of them cut. We have a bunch more to go. We have some there and a whole pile over there, but we won't bore you with the rest of it, but that's how you cut them. The next step is polishing and rounding over so you don't have a sharp edge there. So you have a nice rounded edge so you won't get cut, or whoever uses this won't get cut. All right, the final stage of this process here is to, like I said, deburr. Smooth off the top a little bit and deburr it so it's not sharp on the edge. We do have our cut proof or abrasive resistant gloves on. Here's the sandpaper that came in the kit. We will have to replace this. I really think any decent grade sandpaper, silicon carbide, is going to work. It's not really going to be any issues. As you can see, this has already been used. All right, that should work there. So we're actually just going to take the sandpaper, lay it down on the counter here. We're going to take the wine bottle we already cut. We're going to lay it down flat. We'll just hold this with the other hand. We're just going to put some light pressure down and move it around. It works best. You do figure eights. You just want to keep the glass flat to the surface and sand it. You wouldn't think glass sands, but it definitely does, especially when you have a decent sandpaper. So just like with any other polishing, you're gonna start, if you run it really fine and polished, kind of like this edge, you're going to start with a heavier abrasive and go down in grits from there and end up polishing that edge. But for what we're doing, we're actually cutting these to help my wife make some wine candles. So she's taking recycled wine glasses, we're cutting them, cleaning them, cutting them, and she will put wicks and wax in them and relabel them with the corresponding fragrance. So that's her deal. My deal is to cut them. So let's show you how that's done. Like I said, figure eights and then rotating it. So we didn't do that very much, and already you can see we're flattening that right out, taking the sharp edge off. And once we get it down, you can take this down till it's a perfect uniform top to it. We're not going to go the whole way down. We want it to look like it is a cut wine glass. So we're just going to get rid of the sharp, dangerous edges. We're not going to make it perfect, but you definitely could. And like I say, if you keep going down in grits, you could polish that and have it shiny, just like kind of the outside here. But once we get that about the way we want it, then we're going to actually take this and twist the wine glass on its edge. We'll rotate it. Do that again. What this is doing is just cutting the sharp edge off. So we're knocking it down on the top. We still kind of have a sharp edge on the side. So that will get rid of that. As you can see, we're definitely starting to round over. Let me keep working on this and I'll show you the finished product. So pretty much the finished product, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, is right there. Like I said, it's not completely flat, smooth. It got rid of the highs and most of the lows, and we rolled the edge. I don't need my gloves now because you can tell my glove is not catching at all on that. So it's not a sharp edge anymore. The inside could still be. You could definitely take this sandpaper and sand that inside edge off too. We're not so worried about that because, like I said, these are going to be candles. So that's pretty much how you do it. Well, that's the, I guess, manual way of doing it. I'll show you another way real quick. You can use a belt sander. You definitely got to be more careful. Make sure you, even with this step, make sure you wear eye protection. And then we'll run out to the belt sander and just show how that's done real quick too, if you prefer to do it that way. All right, guys, an alternate method here is you definitely want to have your gloves and your eye protection on. And maybe other protection. I've never had one explode, but you never know. This is obviously a power belt sander. It's got a belt. It also has a disc on the side. It makes things a little quicker, but also, as you can see on this one, it didn't break quite clean. So it didn't go below the line anywhere. It's still above the line. So we can save this, we just got to grind a little bit more. That would take a long time by hand, so we'll set this up and show you how to do it on a belt sander. We're going to take it and kind of rest it on the bottom first because we don't want it to grab and kick. So we're going to take just kind of twist it on there a little bit. So obviously we're not quite there yet, but we're definitely on the right track. And it does it pretty quickly. All right, so we have all these deburred and sanded off, smoothed off. Now we're actually just going to wash them because it is glass shavings that you're sanding off. Again, wear eye protection, wear breathing protection, all of that. So we're going to go ahead and actually wash these, dry them, and then they'll be ready for whatever you want to do with them. There you have it. Hopefully I can help someone, or at least understand how it's done. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good day.